So you're a fan of Atlanta United, and after winning MLS Cup in year 2, you'd think we'd be contending every year.
Yep, I'm pretty sure that's what you guys thought.
6 years, 3 coaches, an interim coach,
Twice.
and no legitimate runs at the title? What the hell happened?
Well, you've come to the right place.
Was it bad front office player management?
Probably.
Were the coaches all wrong?
Yep.
Did the tactics suck?
Definitely.
Didn't we already cover that?
Yeah, but it's a new era with new hope and new questions to discuss.
Is Dyla the answer? Are Lagaway and Henderson the right dynamic duo? Or will they spend all our gam on another Miguel Berry?
Join us as we drink wine, break it all down, and sort it all out.
I'm Mikey Dobbs.
I'm David Katz.
And I'm Carmen Butler.
And this is Season 7
of the ATL on Fire podcast show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of ATL on Fire, the podcast where we talk all things Atlanta United football and all things soccer. And joined by Dave Katz. How you doing, Dave?
Not good, because our beloved producer Carmen is missing.
That is true.
So that hurts me. If you're out there, Carmen, listening live on the broadcast, we miss you.
And Carmen, Dave was nice enough to save the nicer of the 2 bottles since I lost the bet to save for you. So you're going to be in store for another nice bottle of wine.
And dear podcast listeners, don't fret. Just because Carmen has missed a couple of podcasts doesn't mean that she's not part of the podcast anymore. She is definitely still part of the podcast.
100%. Dave, we have a fire this evening. We had a
Lovely.
fire 2 weeks ago at the Toco Hills Wild Heaven location.
That's correct.
Thank you, everybody who came to see us live down at the Toco Hills Wild Heaven.
Yeah,
Fox
good showing.
Brothers Barbecue, great showing. We apologize for the audio issues, but we will get that right next time, I promise. And for everybody else listening, just want to take a quick pause and say thank you. Season 7, if you have listened to the show, thank you. Make sure you subscribe, even if you are a listener. Find us on YouTube. Really would appreciate clicking that subscribe button, ringing the bell so you get notifications for new episodes and these live broadcasts. And you will find us on all your favorite podcast catchers, whether you're on iTunes or Spotify or whatever it is.
If you're not a subscriber, you won't know.
You won't know because, yeah, I mean, Dave, our podcast has evolved, right? So
Yes, it has a little bit,
our tagline was, to begin with was, we don't know much about the MLS. We know a good bit about Atlanta United, but we know a lot about soccer. I would say we know a good bit about MLS. We know a heck of a lot about Atlanta United, and we know a hell of a lot about soccer.
That's right.
So thanks for listening. We are going to break down tonight the first game of the season for Atlanta United. New era. But before we do, Dave, how do you like the wine from the lost bet? I told you it would get a good one.
It's really, really good. What is it, Mikey Dobbs? Tell us a little bit about it.
I think it's an Italian Valpolicella. I forget how do you pronounce that.
Passo from Le Mouret.
Yeah.
Really nice. Oh, it's called Le Mouret. It's from Reccia.
Oh, that's the different one. Yeah.
Reccia. Anyways, it's really, really nice.
It is very nice. You
can tell Mikey Dobbs is in charge of the wine because, I don't typically bring Italians, and he loves the Italians. So, it's a new day.
Yeah.
And that's because you maybe lost a bet.
Yeah.
Which one is this one for?
This one is for, which one is this one for?
I don't know. The big one was the Miami was going to win it all.
That's what this one is, I think. Yeah.
Actually, it was only one bet, wasn't it? Because it was one bet and then it was double or nothing.
Yeah. That sounds right.
Anyway.
It was double or nothing. Right. But let me see if I can get this transition over to...
For those out there, I think Mikey Dobbs took Miami against the entirety of the field, which was, typical.
Well, I want to thank Wolf Mountain Vineyards, our sponsor up in Dahlonega. I've got the address up there. You guys should definitely make a visit up there this spring. Enjoy some wine
good friend
yourself.
Quentin asked me, he's like, is Wolf Mountain Vineyards any good? Because it's Georgia. And we were like, hell yeah, it is. And he's like, really? He's like, we're like, yeah, it's real. It's legit. He's like, all right, I'm going to go.
They just won some awards. I know Brennan had just posted something. So definitely go check them out. Amazing wine. And also...
It's legit good wine. Somebody might make an excuse. Oh, is it good for Georgia? No, it's good.
Yeah. It's excellent.
Yeah.
And a great experience to get up there. Yeah. So the other sponsor, of course, that we want to thank is our Wild Heaven Brewery friends.
Heaven Brewery.
Yeah. can see. This is where I miss Carmen.
It may not be an emergency, but you can still drink.
Oh, look at that beer!
Drinking beer. It's always an emergency somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what the world's coming to. G-Mini Christmas.
So, again, Wild Heaven Beer. We've got 3 locations now. One in Avondale Estates here, one on the west end, and now Toco Hills with your barbecue matchup. So, look at that.
So many locations that our friend actually went to come to the podcast, the live one, and went to the wrong location.
Yeah.
So then he just had beers there. That's how we roll. Even our fans are confused, right? So, yeah.
So, Dave, exciting way to start the season at home. I prepared 5 hours the night before with Matt to get all the taco stuff ready for an amazing tailgate.
That's 5 hours of preparing a tailgate meats exclusively, people.
Yes. We went
Tell us a little bit about what you were offering.
We visited the Mexican burrito and just loaded up with some pre-made fajitas, carne asada, and then Matt has this amazing carnitas recipe that we braised some pork or seared some pork and then braised it for a good 4 or 5 hours.
It was legit, folks.
It was legit.
I usually throw the tailgate,
and we had a fire at the parking lot, which probably broke some fire codes, but that's how
there
we
was a
roll it at
50-50 chance we were going to burn down Mercedes-Benz, but fortunately the coin landed on heads.
Yeah. So, Dave, a great tailgate. We go in.
It was an epic tailgate.
It wasn't. It was
really.
probably, I do miss tailgating. It was right there by the supporters.
We've talked about it.
Yeah.
You know, we got this fancy seats, and it comes with free food and free drinks, all whatever. And so, you know, we get spoiled, and then we don't always tailgate. Whereas we used to tailgate every single game. Yeah. So, you know, I don't know.
And a quick walkover right there from the
Roy
supporters
Keane
lot.
used to say, you know how he talked about how the New Man United fans, they're eating their prawn sandwiches. That's us now. Oh, man.
But I was so excited. I was amped up the night before. It's like one of those like feeling like Christmas type of events.
That's right. It did feel like Christmas morning.
And again, good vibe, good tacos beforehand. Walk in, an hour before, 45 minutes before kickoff.
That's right.
We assessed the crowd. We knew it was going to be a good one. I would say it was probably over 62,000. I know they reported 65,000. And
the bet was felt like it could have been 60-62 Mikey Dobbs had, and I had the over on that.
Yeah. And I think you probably, to be fair, were maybe over it. It was just really
they announced it at 65,
right.
But we never believe what they announced. Yeah. But in this case, maybe announcing 65 might have been real.
It's always so hard to tell in the Mercedes-Benz because you figure so many people are walking around,
right,
experiencing it from
Although,
inside.
Why would you be walking around when you could be sitting or standing in your seat and watching this team? People, come on.
So, Dave,
what kind of crazy people would not be watching the game, Mikey Dobbs?
I don't know.
Not us. We were there for it.
So now we're going to talk about the season opener. All 3 points, Dave, we get going into this game.
It's a little dicey, but we got it done.
Squeaky bum there at the end, wasn't it?
A little bit.
So, what do you think of the lineup, right? So we got everybody we wanted. Of course, the back line, there were some injuries that forced Dialect to make some choices.
Two substitutes in the back line from what everybody presumes. The interesting thing is, when a squad is sort of perfectly composed and built, when everybody knows what the starting lineup should be. Like I read a lot on Twitter and articles and whatever, and every single person had the same starting lineup. So that tells you a little bit about how the roster is composed, that it's balanced, that you kind of know who should be starting. But anyway, the 2 players who everybody have in their starting lineup who were not available, Amador at left back, Lennon at right back. Instead, we get Hernandez, the wily veteran, and who's been here
only
a while.
like 22, right?
No, he's like 27 now.
Is he now?
Yeah, I mean he started out like 22, but he's been here for like 6 years. Anyway, and then we had Matt Edwards, who wasn't technically making his MLS debut, but honestly, he's only played just a few minutes. How old is he?
Hernandez is 27. So you're right. Yeah. I thought he was a few years younger than that.
Yeah.
So wily veteran in his prime at least. But okay. So it was clearly.
Do you want to tell him the rest of the lineup?
Oh, well, yeah.
case you weren't
Rest
there.
of the lineup, right? So in the back again, we had Goose, we had Hernandez, Abram, Gregerson, and Edwards, the younger guy on the right, fullback. And then in front of that, we got the true double pivot with the Polish pivot.
The Polish pivot.
Sleeves.
You just coined it.
Oh,
Polish pivot.
The Polish pivot.
I like it.
And then in front of them, we've got Miranchuk, and then out on the left, Almiron, Saba on the right, and our new
I think
big signing,
technically it was
Latte Lath.
Almiron on the right and Saba on the left.
You're right.
But yeah.
Yeah.
And then
But
Latte Lath.
we'll talk about that. There's a lot of movement from Almiron throughout the game. So, yeah. So I thought it was obviously a tale of two halves. We looked great the first half. There was a lot to be excited about. You know what I missed, Dave?
Yeah.
That I was immediately, well, there's two things that are happy. Like, you just see from Latte Lath that the rest of the MLS is going to have somebody to deal with. On top of the fact that, do you remember?
Wait, you think he's pacey?
You think he's pacey? And do you know who still hasn't lost his step and has that transition capability from, dropping back into the midfield and then
Is it
exploding?
our very own Miggy Almiron?
It might be. He's still got it, Dave. Still got it.
Oh,
Yeah. Hit the wrong button. That's it. Yeah. Miggy Almiron.
Let's keep talking.
No, I know.
As we sit by the fire,
As we sit by the fire, Dave, I mean, he absolutely looked great, especially the first half.
Yeah, I mean, his ability, he looked classy. His ability to turn in. So first of all, his understanding of the game, the positions that he takes up off the ball, right? He's always available. He can turn a guy all the time. He stops on a dime. He knows where everybody is. I mean, the moment, literally like his first touch of the game, he just sprayed a ball in traffic like 30 yards on the other side, and you're just like,
Yeah.
it's like, where did that go for our team?
And
right?
when people are playing it up and forward to Latte Lath, it didn't matter where it went. He was competing for it.
Oh, God, yeah.
He was competing for it. He's just a totally different striker than we've ever had, really. Wouldn't you agree? Like, I don't think I've ever seen a striker like that, frankly, in the MLS.
That's
Quite with the same style.
Question about in MLS. I mean, I have to think a little bit more about that in MLS. Certainly not for us.
Yeah, certainly not for us. A young guy, I don't know, he's 26, right?
Because the best scorer we've ever had, of course, was Joseph Martinez. And Joseph Martinez, really quick, can get up, can finish, but it didn't have the pace. I mean, just
didn't have
he's
the
got
pace.
Frightening pace.
It just looks like Latte Lath every time. He's not afraid to just attack people.
No, literally his first touch of the game. He took it. He ran 20 yards at their box. Got to the top of the box. Ran into kind of a wall. Went sideways.
Hits it near
took
post.
on two guys. Hit a ball near post.
Yeah.
Didn't quite catch it. But you're like, oh man.
Yeah.
Different.
So yeah,
I mean, the era, no offense to these players, but, we've had Rios and we've had Miguel Berry and we've had others.
Well,
and you just watch that and you're like, that's different.
yeah. Gigi was different and great in his own way, but
Yeah.
I'm hoping he's going to be even more resilient, a little younger. And
Gigi kind of had a lot of the same movement, but was not nearly as fast.
Right.
So his movement was terrific. But Latte Lath has that has a movement off the ball, and he's fast. I mean, the only thing you would say, if you had a little bit of critique, he's not the biggest guy, and the question is physicality, but he plays bigger, at least initially what we've seen. So, I got nothing but praise.
Yeah. So we get our first goal in like the 40th minute, roughly towards the end.
42nd minute.
42nd minute. Corner kick. I think Saba took it.
Took it.
In swinger, and he just kind of backs up a step or two and jumps up and just clearly nods it. Far post with perfect direction.
He was so high.
Yeah.
And he met the ball so high. So there's two things. One, he can get up. Joseph Martinez could really get up too, but he's much taller than Joseph Martinez. And his ability to time it, and he was in traffic, and it meet it at the top point, and then glance it into the. I mean, that was a classy header,
and because he had to take 2 or 3 steps back, and
that
then
was
jump.
not an easy header by any means.
No.
I mean, one of the better headed goals we've ever seen from Atlanta United, for sure.
So we go into halftime feeling pretty good, right? We saw the exciting soccer as returning Atlanta United fans. I think we all wanted to see. So a lot to be optimistic about, going to grab a cold one there at halftime.
One thing I want to say is that, like, early on in the first half, they actually were really dominating possession against us. Like the first time we looked up at the board, they showed it. It was like almost like 60-40 or something like that, 58, you know, which was kind of interesting. And it was because we were attacking so fast. We had the better the play the whole time. Yeah. But we were attacking so fast, we didn't maintain the ball very much. But the actually interesting thing, as the first half wore on, the possession ended up almost 50-50 in the end. I think it was like 51 or 52-48. And it's because we won the ball back so many times right after we lost it. We got possession again.
Particularly from like the 30th minute to that 42nd minute, where we were you could feel a goal coming.
They had a really hard time getting out of the back.
You just know when a goal's coming, and it was coming. Yeah. It happened to come off of a corner kick, but I think we had some other opportunities.
Yeah, we have some better opportunities maybe in live play. And so, I agree with you completely. It was coming.
And anything else big to call out in the first half?
Well, what did you see? Like, you're watching the team, is there anything that you noticed? Like, I know we were talking about, the outside backs, whether they were pinched in, what's the back line up the field, anything you saw?
Well, you and I spoke about it during the game. We had a young right fullback in Matt Edwards, which you felt like he was pretty flawed. But I still like the fact that he's aggressive up on people's backs.
He was.
Which to me is just so refreshing from what we've seen the last 2 or 3 years, Dave, that I will take all the flaws there of a young fullback learning on the job. Yeah. To even if he got beat several times, to your point.
I have to say, so Matt Edwards, I thought, was not great in this game. I'm actually, as I think a big Matt Edwards fan. Yeah. I think, to me, having only really seen him like U.S. Open Cup and like the 2s, 1s, whatever. But anyway, very rarely. But every time I've seen him, he's been terrific. He can defend. He's pacey. He's physical. He's got everything. Yeah. Right. He just looked overawed by the moment, like especially early on. Every time he got the ball, he was just trying to give it to someone else.
65,000 people you're playing against for the first time.
He just looked nervous. He didn't look, what I would say is he didn't look like a bad player. He just looked a little overawed by the moment.
Yeah, which is fair. Yeah. Now, obviously the back line, Dave, is not our best out of everybody on the starting lineup there.
Right.
So that was obviously a continued problem, but one that I think, again, is hopefully going to get improved by the starters. Mm-hmm. And then through a little more cohesion of what I thought was great, which was what I'm calling the Polish pivot. Really controlling that.
I love
that center defensive part of the field.
Definitely going with that.
And, Miranchuk looked pretty classy throughout. Mm-hmm. Saba was attacking as he always does, and I felt like it was clicking.
Yeah. See what you did there.
I didn't even mean to.
Matea's clicking.
So on the back line, what were your other observations for the critical part of
Well, I think maybe this calls for us going to the tactical board, because I wanted to show you what I saw tactically and the hole where we had.
Do you want to talk about just in general the second half before we do that?
It's up to you. Yeah, we can go to the second half.
So we had a great first half, right?
Yep.
Certainly solid.
Mm-hmm.
And we come out, and I think, by the way, you and I are arguing about a Brad Guzan cross, and I didn't see the first goal. I think that was the cross you were talking about.
47th minute.
Because I didn't see, that was the one they scored the goal on. Is that the one you were saying Brad Guzan should have saved?
No, actually, they scored their first goal. It was sort of in the 47th minute. We're going to go over in.
It was like a wonky cross. It went right over Brad Guzan's head.
Well, it went over everybody's, and it was a guy wide open on the back post. Right. Actually, Brad Guzan on that play actually reacted really quick, recognized the danger over his head, and almost got there. I thought he was terrific on that play. The one that we were talking about later was one where there was a cross, and I thought he should have come for it. And
I thought he should have done better on that cross after watching the replay. So why don't let's go to the replay then? If you want to, you got the control of the mouse here. Let me pull that up here. Give me 1 second. I don't have Carmen here, so I have to remember how to do all this.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. And there you go, Dave. Take control.
Yeah. So this actually is the first goal that we gave up, right? I have it paused right here where Atlanta United, so Montreal just took possession at their left back.
Hold on. I don't have it shared yet. Sorry here, people. And that is not it. But I can probably just pull it in here. No. It's a mess.
Oh, Carmen, you'll know that you're needed.
You are needed, yeah. Oh, no. Here we go. Share. There we go.
And now, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. That was almost a moment. Yeah. So, Montreal has the ball. Their left back has the ball, and he's just inside, just wide of the 18, but, way far back, close to his own goal. And what's happening here is you can see actually, and we'll get to this as we get to the tactical board, right? So Atlanta United, the way they're playing, particularly up front, is really well positioned to actually pressure the ball the moment the ball turns over. So you can see on this, what Almiron is actually really challenging for the ball. Latte Lath is actually in a beautiful position to cut off the keeper and prevent it from swinging to the other side. The interesting thing you'll see here, and I'll get to it when we get to the tactical board, the first problem. So if you look on the bottom of the screen, that's Matt Edwards, right, coming up, right? So he's trying to be aggressive. I mean, he's already, he's 10, 15 yards outside their 18-yard box. But you can see the outside, it's actually their left back, because the guy who's kicking the ball is their second center back, the left of the two center backs. Their left back is open. Matt Edwards is trying to get there, but it's a long way to go, right? Because to get to him, he would have to go all the way as forward as the front 18. So he's coming, and you're going to see. But when he comes, he's never involved in this play, because what he does is he forces the center back to actually kick it long. So I'll go through the clip here. So they kick it long, and the ball drops, okay? So first of all,
Gregerson's right on his back.
Yeah, Gregerson's right on his back right here. It's actually Click who trips and is not really involved in the ball because of that as he was turning. But anyway, they play it to one of the forward line, and Gregerson is literally right on his back. So first of all, one of the things I notice about our team is that we're really aggressive up the field. We play a very quote-unquote high line, which to me, I don't really think about the line as much as I think about whether or not the guys are actually trying to win the ball. And here you can clearly see he's trying to win the ball. So what's going to happen here is he's right on his guy, and the guy does a beautiful job of turning it and laying it. What you're going to see is problem number 2. And problem number 2 is Abram not being confident enough. So Abram there's an open guy, and he's not tight enough to him. So when this guy lays it off to the fellow forward, you'll see that Abram can't get there. Okay, so it comes here. It gets laid off, right? Did you see Abram right there?
Yeah.
So he came to challenge it because that's clearly what they want them doing, is to come and win the ball.
Right.
But he's not close enough to challenge it, and he realizes it. He's like, I ain't going to win that ball. And they have the guy out wide because what happened was
Edwards is still running back.
Well, Edwards is still running back, and Click, who was on him, fell. So that's a big problem, right? So what could have happened right there, if he had read that danger, right, he would have been right on that guy and either won the ball, Abram would have, or he would have forced him to play backwards and not give him the outlet. But he was not close enough, and you could see he knew that if he went in and challenged, it's a breakaway.
Now he's in retreat mode.
So he's in no man's land. Now he does recover quite well here. He recovers over to this. He takes a good angle. So now it's... Oh, shoot.
People are back.
Sorry. I clicked on the wrong. I apologize. So here. So this is where we stopped it. So he's in a good position defensively.
4v2 right there.
Right. So we have 4 in the back, and they only have 2 going forward. And so you would think, okay, we're good. And what you see is that Abram's got the guy one-on-one, and it's Gregerson who's busting it to get back, you'll notice, right? But here's the thing, right? So this guy is going to go by Abram like he's a cone. He gives him a step over and just goes right by him. Actually, the guy who ends up challenging to try and block the cross is actually Gregerson. He's going to run past Abram and actually try to block this cross because, I don't know, I guess he knows he's getting beat. He's like, So we're going to play it. It's a step over here. And look how badly Abram just got beat.
Yeah, and he just just ran away from. Where is he going?
Well, I think
where is he going?
He got beaten so badly that Gregerson was filling in for him, and he thought, okay, he's going to take him. I'm going to go back towards the middle, but which is a stupid play at that point anyway.
If you have somebody to cover, if you're going back the middle though, but he's not going to get far post at that point.
No, he's never getting back in the middle.
He would have been better off putting
double
pressure on
teaming.
him.
Yeah, exactly. Just go back and try to win the ball at that point. So that's silly.
Yeah, that is silly.
That's Sleaze. So, but and here's problem number 3. So Hernandez, right, has been on the back post the whole time. He's in a beautiful position to actually mark his guy, right? He's ball side. He's looking over at the ball. But what he never does is he never realizes that there's an unmarked guy out wide. So that guy is neither recognized by Hernandez nor tracked by Saba. Okay, so he's just running free into the 18. So there's 2 things that could have happened. One is Saba could have tracked that whole run late into the box and been on him. Or the other possibility is if Hernandez had realized right away, Sleaze was right next to him the whole time, and Sleaze could have taken his guy and he could have stepped wide, but neither of those things happened.
Yeah.
So by the time he goes to cross, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people marking one guy and a 2v1 on the back post.
Pretty awful.
That's not so good. And so you'll see, Brad has you said maybe you thought Brad should have done better.
I think he should have.
I think he has no chance on this. It's a cross to the far post and he heads it in.
Oh, a younger Brad Guzan can't get to that?
A rugged Brad Guzan maybe gets a punch on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually,
sure
I hadn't really saw it that. Yeah, but you're right.
He just was like flat-footed and watched it just arc right over his head. It wasn't his fault because we had 5 people ball watching, but an old Brad Guzan gets that. As much as Brad Guzan saves goals, he's not the young Brad
He recognized it really right away.
Yeah.
And he came flying across, but he just didn't have the speed to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 3 problems, right? 1, which they didn't use, the initial guy is wide open because Edwards doesn't know whether to stay at home or to get all the way there. He was kind of in between in no man's land. 2, on the flick on off of Gregerson, right? Abram is not close enough to win the ball. So we got one guy who's aggressive and the other guy who's a little backed off. Does that remind you of like Williams in the last year? And then the third thing is actually after they get running, Abram gets beaten one-on-one, but that's not really a tactical problem. The other tactical problem is we don't know what to do about the late arriving, run on the far side. Yeah. Right? There's nobody clearly responsible for playing that.
But old habits die hard because we're clearly with Abram there, not able to pressure.
Abram was awful. Yeah. I mean, he was terrible. He had a nightmare game. Yeah, I have nothing really good to say about him. I'm not really convinced he's an MLS defender.
Yeah, I mean, they clearly were trying to figure out a way to get him shipped.
Yeah, they were trying to get rid of him.
Didn't work, and so that's why I don't understand why Dyla didn't maybe go with a Cobb from the get-go.
No, Cobb, yeah. I mean, we don't know. We're gonna see. Here's you want to make a prediction? Does Abram survive to game 2 or not? Or does Dyla watch that and say,
He's going to watch it and say, I watched the post-game press conference with Dyla. He is a very direct, and it was so refreshing, Dave, to hear somebody actually speak about what we are all seeing and explain it with no nonsense and not twiddle a pen and talk about intensity and all of that. It was really well thought out in terms of why it was a tale of 2 halves and the things he liked and didn't like about the way the team was playing and how we got stretched the second half, and understands also, like you mentioned during preseason, the whole part of preseason is just to tire the hell out of the team. He's like, clearly the legs showed the team was exhausted, got stretched. In the second half. He said that may have been entertaining for some, your casual fan, but that's not how we want to play.
Doesn't want to play open.
Doesn't want to play open. So
Fair.
Yeah.
So you want to finish talking about it before we go to the tactical board?
Yeah. So we gave up that goal there, and then we come back and kind of get a lucky goal. But again, that's the feistiness of a Latte Lath. The goalkeeper spills it.
Hernandez crosses it. Actually, Almiron flicks it on. And then the goalkeeper was going with the defender who was going to get it. They kind of both looked at each other. It bounced off the goalkeeper, and
Latte Lath is there to clean it up.
Quickest guy to the ball.
Yeah.
And a cool finish right in the
very
corner.
Cool finish.
Yeah. Very, very nicely done.
And
a poacher's goal, for sure, but a well-deserved one.
And then we saw another goal to tie it up 2-2 from Montreal. Do you recall that one? I don't remember that one exactly, how they put that one in the back of the net. It was it was another bad goal by Atlanta United. What do your notes say about that one? Probably go to it on the replay here.
Yeah, we can go to
Or do you want me to come off tactical? Do you want me to...
No, we can go.
Yeah, I'll let you take control here. Is it off a corner?
Yeah.
It was off a corner.
Yeah.
So
so we can talk about it because we can freeze it on. They have a really nice on the replay here.
Yeah,
you can see our formation. So it's a corner kick for Montreal on the outside, right? And what's going to happen is it goes all the way to the far post. And our old friend George Campbell, who had a terrific game, has also now appeared for the U.S. national team.
Oh, has he?
Yes, he has.
Did you see him give a little nod to the king?
Yeah.
That was a nice little gesture.
So he gets to the ball on the back post, and he puts it back across the middle, and then it's just tapped in, almost like a yard out from the goal line. So here's our marking system. I don't know if you noticed, but it's very clear we're playing with 2 or 3 zonal markers. You can see it right here. So, and what's the other thing I would say about it? So what I love about this, okay? So I love combinations of zonal and man marking on corners. I think it's the right balance. They have more man marking than zonal and just a few zonal guys. And the guys who he chose to go with the zonal marking are the big guys who are good in the box. So it's Latte Lath is zoning. He's right in the middle of the thing. And it's Miranchuk at the front post, who's the tallest guy on the field. Right. So I think those are good decisions. He has our 2 weakest defenders. Saba is out there for the short corner, and Almiron's at the top of the box, which does 2 things. One is they're not marking a guy because they're not the best markers. And 2, the moment the ball turns over, they're furthest up the field for the counter. Yeah. And so that looks smart to me.
It looks smart. And one thing I will say is, look, when you play this, Hernandez gets beat one-on-one, I think it is by Campbell or whoever it is. It's on the far post. It gets up and heads. But again, as we've always talked about, man-v-man defense on a corner kick, there's elbow grease. There's actually somebody competing for it. He just gets...
It was a good header under pressure.
Up and over Hernandez and puts a really nice ball right in front of the goal.
And I will say also in this case, so many times when you see a zonal marking like Latte Lath, they just stand there and they never do anything. Yeah. In this case, Latte Lath reads the danger, and he actually gets closest to stopping the one in the middle. He doesn't get there, but at least he's moving around.
That's what I'm saying. There's signs of this was not just a gimme.
No, it was not a gimme.
Montreal
2 guys got beat under, tight pressure.
Under pressure, and it was a good corner kick to the far post where really the only head that could have gotten on it was the Montreal guy. He gets up over Hernandez, puts it across, and the guy does a nice job of attacking it.
Want to play the clip?
Play the clip. What happened? Come on, YouTube. Yeah, there it is. Look at that. I mean, he's at least shoulder to shoulder with him. Does a good job of directing it across. Now
they freeze it again here.
That wasn't Hernandez. It was somebody else who ended.
I think it was Edwards.
Gregerson, number 5.
Yeah.
It was Gregerson that ends up getting shoulder to shoulder with him.
Okay.
So now it's 2-2, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
And is this the ball that? Yeah, this one is the goal where Miggy, Almiron.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay.
Oh, you want to show it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Here's the thing. So when we score the game winner in the 84th minute, what is so magical, we talked about our midfield is just going to be better than anybody. And this is what I mean. The people are like, oh, is the midfield that much better? And this is a perfect example of why an amazing midfield is great even when they don't have to be great. So in this case, there's a ball to Miranchuk. He spins his defender beautifully, right? Just absolutely spins him one-on-one, right? Gets a little bit open, finds a beautiful ball into the middle to Latte Lath. So where we have it frozen and you think he's just dribbling away from him, right? He's going to find Latte Lath, who's coming back towards him to give him an option, not just running away.
Yeah, and he lays it off to
He, instead of trying to turn the freaking ball, he plays one touch back to Almiron, which allows him to get it out to Mosquera quickly. Yeah. And the whole thing of that whole thing, so Mosquera, right? Mosquera is very quick. Yeah. He's good on the dribble, right? But Mosquera is not a great first touch. And if he gets the ball and he's under any kind of pressure, he's just going to turn and go back. Yeah. So the reason why he gets to run at the Montreal defense is because they get it to him so quick that
he's already looking up on his front foot.
Exactly. So let's play.
And this is beautiful. He just to Latte Lath, lays it back to Miggy. Miggy's got the entire midfield at this point.
Dribbling, beautiful ball, one touch, and then one touch, boom, out there. So now when he gets it there, right? So he has, and so not only does he get it quickly, but the ball that Almiron plays is a perfect weight, and it's the perfect angle. It's not too far running away from him. It's not at his feet where he has to make a touch or whatever.
Didn't push him too far out wide.
He could get his head up the entire time, see the defender, right? And so now Mosquera is going to run at him, because that's what he does, right, if you give him the chance, right? So he's going to run at him, cut back into his favored right foot, and he's going to bury it up in 90.
Oh, that was beautiful.
And all that is because of how quickly we played from right to left through the midfield.
Yep.
Right, so for those people thinking, it wasn't, nobody made the most brilliant pass in the world, although Miranchuk's turn and pass to the middle was really, really nice. I mean, really, really nice. But, nobody did extraordinary things in the midfield. It wasn't the greatest assist in the world, right? But the speed with which they interchanged and the movement in the middle, even Miggy Almiron. So Miggy Almiron was available. He was in a beautiful space. They played Miranchuk instead. And instead of standing around, he turned and ran up the field so that when Miranchuk played that ball, he wasn't just back watching. Right? If you're Fortune, if you're Muyumba, you're watching this, watch that movement, right? Because he's so far back and then he just takes off and he ends up right for a layoff where he can play it.
Again, I don't know how this season will ultimately end up, but there's going to be moments where we are just fun to watch. And I don't think I've seen that in a long time.
The movement, the first touch, the speed with which they played the ball, the decision-making, all outstanding.
Yeah. The Polish pivot, Miranchuk, Miggy, and Latte Lath are all very classy players.
Right.
Saba isn't he's exciting, he's fast, he's got some class himself.
He's classy too, in my opinion.
When Amador comes back, classy. I also think Gregerson is everything I want from an aggressive center mid.
Fits the system. Yep.
Fits the system. If Edwards can get some confidence and grow, I'd like to see Noah Cobb come in.
Yep.
I think we're cooking.
Looks pretty good.
Yeah.
You want to go to tactical board?
I don't know. What are you going to talk about?
I want to talk about the weakness in the system.
The weakness in the system.
And I want, so for those people out there, it's the first game. You haven't seen Ronnie Dyla. You're probably pretty excited about the team. We did really well, but I wanted you to show you tactics, what you can be looking for.
All right. Give me a second. I will have the tactical board happening.
Brilliantly done.
Here we go, Dave.
All right, now just put it back on the top tab. Yeah, I got it.
We're cooking.
Okay, so we have it just positioned as how you would start the game, just so you can see. But I'm going to take it to what we would see right away. So what we want to focus on is when the other team is building out of the back. Okay, so I'm going to put their back four where they're building out of the back, which is what they look like is here. And
Like that, I even got the names of the Montreal players.
it's pretty impressive. So as you saw from the last one, Latte Lath is going to be up here pressuring. This is actually switched, so it's up here. Now Marone here. Okay, Edwards here. Hernandez here. Miranchuk in here. Our Polish pivot here. And our back here. Okay. So when the ball turns over, or in this case, like it's in a goal kick or whatever, so we are really, really aggressive up the front four. We actually often look almost like a line. So Latte Lath, Miranchuk, right? Saba are pretty, not only they're very up the field, and they're almost a line, and they're being really aggressive to pressure the ball, okay? The good thing about that is, as you can see, when you pressure the ball, right, we tend to turn the ball over. So, like, we went over the clip, when they were playing out the other side, right? So, in the clip, they actually had the ball on the other side.
On the left, and Edwards is kind of where he is now and wasn't going to get there.
Yeah, he was trying to get there, but so they had, Almiron had pressure on here. And thankfully he did, because the guy had a wide open pass out wide here.
Yeah.
He chose not to use it. He chose to play up top where Gregerson was all over his guy. And then Abram, instead of being here, was here.
Yeah.
Okay, just a few yards off of where he should have been. So they were able to play it long, and then it went here, here, and then back out here. Okay. But here's the thing. So in this system, the hole, right? Do you see where the holes are? There's a hole on either side of the field defensively. Where's the hole?
Well, there's one hole right over the top of Gregerson, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have a very high line, so you might say there's a hole back
But
here.
you could say to Piatti into the center, but he's got pressure on his back. And then,
Yeah, the Polish pivot is got that pretty well marked up.
I mean, I don't see any holes per se.
I see two holes. Okay, there's a hole right here.
Where
And there's a
ball is now,
hole right here.
Where the ball is now, and there's no way a hole on the other side.
No, not for there. For here, the hole is here.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But
There's one hole.
If the ball is here, then the hole is here.
Correct. Okay.
Right.
But I'm saying where the ball was, there's only one hole. Is
Yeah.
the outlet to Clark. I honestly feel like, man, that was, again, because Abram didn't pressure on the guy's back is the only reason that play turned into a goal.
Yeah, but what I was going to say is, like, on that play, if he had used Clark, easy. But so here's the thing, right? So the problem with the system is that when you pressure like this, there's two good things. One, you get a lot of pressure, as you saw when Almiron was really pressuring, right? So we're playing not only flat, but we're playing very narrow. Right, so Almiron could be here, but he's not. He tends to be here. Saba could be here, but he's not. He tends to be pretty narrow. Okay, so they are conceding this space out wide. So you have an issue, right? So if they play wide here, this pass was wide open all game long. Okay, which we're going to concede because we're hoping to win the ball here and force them to do something stupid, and they say, oh, you get the outlet here. But here's the problem. Right? So if you get the outlet here, so if Hernandez stays here, we have plenty of time to recover. But if Hernandez is supposed to be up pressuring and gets here, but he gets there too late, now they go one pass and he's just done. Just like you saw with Edwards, right? So my problem with it is we're giving up this hole, right? So there's two possibilities, right? So you would say, all right, well, one possibility is if Saba was not as narrow, if he was just simply out wide, even if he was a little bit up here, he makes that pass hard, right? Or if he was back in here, okay? So if we, the classic way you would defend, in like the Premier League or whatever, you would say is you would look like this, right? And now there's no hole.
Do you know what my recommendation is, Dave?
But
is that they do whatever it takes to play it into the middle where Latte Lath is to make him snake it somehow.
Yeah.
Because he's got the speed to just fool people.
Well, what I would say is, so the system is designed to turn the ball over the moment the ball wins. If you're here, you're going to try to force him under pressure to do something stupid. And if you win it, you got 4 guys who are going to quickly score.
Yeah.
So it's a trade-off. You know, one thing that we said about Pineda, we hated the system with Pineda because Pineda would play with his airplane so forward. And I said, I don't necessarily have a problem with your airplanes going forward, but if you send your outside backs, both of them, automatically going forward, you better get something offensive for it because otherwise you're giving up the space in behind them. And we were getting nothing offensively because they were static. Here, we're at least getting something offensively for it.
And you know what else I like about it? Is that's 4 very, very dangerous people at the edge of the box against bad MLS defenses.
Well, because the other thing you'll see, so let's say he plays this and he overhits it or whatever, and Hernandez wins it. Now this pass can lead right to a shot because he's really high.
And you do hope that Click doesn't trip on the recovery too. So,
but one of the things that was interesting is a couple of times Saba was there. It happened early in the game in the first half. Actually, they played out of the back here, and their center back came here, and he just played an easy ball out here. Okay, and Hernandez at that time stayed back, and Sleaze. I think in that case it was not Sleaze, it was Click. They had switched, but whatever, doesn't matter. One of the Polish pivot actually went out here to address this. Okay, so the problem with that is it takes a long time to get out there.
And they played to 11, and then
as soon as he gets out there, they can play 1v1, v1, v1.
They did that several times in the game,
and they, especially early on in the game, they were breaking our line, right?
Yeah.
So that's the
they
problem.
did go out wide and then back in, and then we'd have to recover.
Right.
And that's why they had a lot of possession too.
Right. So what I was going to say is if you're going to do that, if Saba's going to play so high, right, then what you saw from Edwards, you know, is what's got to happen. They got to be really aggressive. Now, here's the thing, though. If Hernandez goes this and they're playing a front 3, right, now you got this, right?
Overloaded.
Right? So, obviously, Abram has to come here. Gregerson has to come in the middle. And now this...
Edwards and Sleaze or somebody's got to recover.
And you saw this, too, because we did that a couple of times, and we had that marked like that. And they actually played here and then did this. The one time they did that around this part of the field, the guy was so wide open, he had a chance to run it or back.
They just traversed it all the way across.
It's a high risk, high reward kind of system because if you win the ball back, right, we really can win the ball back. Yeah. And the whole thing was sort of on a pivot, right, which is to say, so once they got the ball up further, right, we often had like, you know, this. So where did the ball go? Here's. So let's say they were up here. Gregerson was over here. Edwards was back here, right? And what happened was our whole team did a really beautiful job. They were pinching the whole space, right? We often look like this when they were trying to play the ball, you know, in that area, which is awesome because try to play through it is really hard. We're going to win it. But if they manage to break it, that guy is wide open. Yeah. Right. So it has to be done really well. And I don't really have a problem with it at this part of the field because you figure
you still got lots of
you
space.
got a long time to get here. Right. I just don't want us giving that easy open ball into that hole and having it to go one. You can't play where they're taking you on one at a time because they're just going to pass around you.
Yeah.
So that's what I see. So the other thing you'll see is that Sleaze and Click, they're really double pivoting, but they were kind of like coming over here. When they switched the field, you know, Sleaze was doing this, trying to get there, which is a long way to go.
Now, is there any other system that this reminds you of that other teams play?
Yes.
Who's that?
Liverpool.
Okay.
So Liverpool does this all the time.
But Liverpool's not especially against Man City this last weekend, they clearly sat back and pick their moments.
Yeah, different.
I don't know that we are quite like that.
To be honest with you, I'm really talking about Liverpool under Klopp.
Okay.
A little less under Arne, but you know, Liverpool would do this. And here's the thing. So Liverpool at the beginning of the Klopp era struggled a little bit. And the reason is, so when you play this, you're going to turn the ball over a lot. We had a beautiful job. We never had the midfield, like even occasionally, Sleece ended up here one time and Click was all the way back here, right? Vice versa. When Click occasionally got into these spots, Sleece was right there. So they were beautifully double pivoting. They don't care about their tracks, no bubble hockey.
Yeah.
They were going left and right. It was beautiful. The whole system was pivoting. It was really beautiful. Like you can see it. It's coming. It's going to take a little time. But here's the thing, right? Under Klopp, Liverpool really, really struggled initially because they were so aggressive up the field like this. What will happen is if a lot of times is they will be forced to play over the top, and they had a lot of this 1v1 here. And at the early days of the Klopp system, they lost a few times. Then they signed Virgil van Dijk, and the rest is history because they were amazing. And so that's the issue with our system. Gregerson has got the pace and the wherewithal to handle it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure Abram does. I'm not sure Williams
Abram
does.
doesn't. Williams,
Maybe.
I think Williams has the.
It's going to be better.
I think the Williams has the capability to do it. He just needs to be coached to do it.
The system relies a lot on guys being able to win on a long ball over the top 1v1 battle because they're not going to have a ton of help.
Williams has all the physical traits to play like Gregerson. He just doesn't have the pace, but that's where he can rely on Gregerson getting behind him and saving him from time to time.
Yeah.
So
for sure, I love the system because it suits our team tremendously. Because the other thing that happens when you play such a high line is the moment the ball turns over, no matter where it is, when you can play quickly up front, all these guys are still up there, right? So we have options up the wazoo, and you saw it the moment the ball turned over. We ran at them and ran at them and ran at them because they were open, right? So it's a little bit risk reward. Saba and Almiron weren't asked to come back. Do you remember last year when Pineda was asking Saba and he was asking Almada to come behind our outside backs? And we said, what the hell do we do when we win the ball? Ronnie Dyla is not asking them to do that. They were just available. And the moment it turned over, he was almost daring Montreal to send the outside backs forward and say, go for it. Yeah. Because what you're going to do is you send that outside back forward. Saba's waiting in behind you, and we're going to find him so fast, forget it, we're going to score. So I love it. It's going to be super entertaining, right? And we're going to score a lot of goals. And as long as the Polish pivot protects our back four and stays really well, which they look like they really know how to do it, as soon as they get the system and the assignments, because what happens in that kind of a situation is you tend to have enough guys back, but it's really 1v1. And so instead of having that comfort of always having an extra guy and you can gotta go and you gotta kind of zone or whatever, you gotta be on it. You gotta make the right decision. And you see the moment hesitation, like Abram on the goal that they scored, you get killed.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not going to happen that much. And you got to figure they're not going to get great balls just like that one because they're going to be under so much pressure that it's just like anywhere will do. Right. So if we do that, we should really dominate possession up the field. We should recycle it a lot and we should score a lot. Occasionally it's going to be hard and they're going to have to figure it out.
So what else excited you about the game on Saturday? Any other just things you saw that are just such refreshing changes? I
mean, the other thing, if you're out there listening, Pineda, right? So we had, right, on that team last year, we had Saba, we had Almada, we had, late in the season, we had Miranchuk, but, early in the season, whatever. We had guys, and he put them on, for better or worse, I hope everybody understands the analogy. I always say bubble hockey, but they were on a track. They could go up and down and up and down, nowhere else. And you saw this. You asked me in the season preview, in the preseason, I said, you're going to see Almiron going left. You're going to see Saba going right and interchanging. And would you see that in the regular season? And I said, my guess is yes, because he understands that the movement will kill a defense. Because Almiron is smart enough to come over and occasionally create that overload that Pineda wanted. Pineda only thought the only way you could get an overload was Lennon coming forward and joining Saba. That was it. And what you realize is that Almiron can come over and join Saba, or Miranchuk can join Saba, or Latte Lath can come out and Almiron can go in behind. And then, oh my God, the defenders are like, where'd who go?
Yeah.
right? And you saw it. They had the freedom to do it. They were really interchangeable, and it's going to be magic.
I mean, they're already like Where'd Hugo when Latte Lath gets the ball. I mean, my head's exploding when I watch that guy. It's so exciting every time it gets to that guy.
And then the other thing we complained about so much is when the ball turned over in the Pineda system, we had nobody to go to. Yeah. When the ball turns over here, Saba, usually they have one of the three of them coming back, but not only one. So, like, if Miranchuk is coming back to actually pressure, Saba and Almiron were up with Latte Lath. So, the moment the ball turns over, we had three options, Mikey Dobbs. Yeah. Three options. And ridiculous.
And, I think now, we have a team that there's three players that when they get the ball, you know what their first thought is? To go forward and attack. That's Saba, Latte, and Almiron. Go. But not reckless. I mean, particularly Latte Lath and Almiron, I think will have the intelligence to know when to slow it up. I think Saba's definitely just go all the time, which I love, right?
Yeah, got to have someone.
Got to have someone.
If you have the willing runner and you have the smart players to play off of that, it's magic, right? Because Miranchuk, he's not a willing runner. He moves around a lot. He really gets into pockets of space. He doesn't stand still. But he's not a 40-yard go kind of guy like Saba is. But if he has willing runners and he can get in pockets of space and Almiron loves pockets of space, it's just beautiful.
I think Miranchuk is more of like a cerebral type of read the game type of guy than just run for the sake of running.
Exactly.
He's just got, like you said, he turned that guy.
He's such a big body and he has such a good first touch. He can turn people and he knows where everybody is all the time. His ability in a second to find the outlet and it's just beautiful. And before, it didn't do anything for us because he had no one to play to. And even if they did, they were just one guy on an island.
So, Dave, after seeing them live...
he's heating up.
He's heating up.
Sorry.
Do you have any concerns about your second place prediction 2 weeks ago and where we'd finish in the Eastern Conference?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I mean, the one thing I will say is that Cincinnati is also loaded. Yeah. Dengue, the guy they signed from Belgium, who I said scored 24 goals last year, he scored a goal in the opener, and he scored a goal in the CONCACAF, just one, but he had one goal in the CONCACAF Champions League too. So he scored in each of their first two games.
Okay.
Yeah. And they have Evander, and they have their back line. It's actually an interesting, I think, what I would say to Atlanta United fans is you better hope that we continue to, as we're learning this system, to eke out wins. Because to beat Cincinnati in the playoffs, I mean, this is way getting ahead of ourselves, but to beat them in the playoffs, we're going to need the home field, right? Whoever has the home field in that playoff game is probably going to win. Although the interesting thing is us matching up with Cincinnati, we match up extremely well with them because they don't have their weaknesses in the midfield. Our strength is in the midfield, right? They have a strong back line, but they're going to have to deal with our front line. It actually matches up pretty well for us.
Okay. So I feel like just looking at the table, right?
We're the table after one game.
After one game, we're tied.
First place.
Tied for first. There's only 3 or 4 teams that have 3 points.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. So I think we've got Philadelphia.
Philadelphia was the big surprise. There weren't that many surprises.
Philadelphia beat Orlando 4-2
on the road.
On the road.
I mean, that was a shocker because Philadelphia, they lost everybody. They lost their coach. Although, as we talked about, they got Carmel, the coach from St. Louis, is now their coach. So he had one phenomenal year there.
Okay. Miami, did you watch any of that game?
I did not watch the Miami game, but I have to say, so Miami had a red card in like the 23rd minute and still dominated possession, equalized, got a 2-2 draw against a pretty good Red Bull side. That's a good omen for them.
It is.
And what I will say is that we've said this from the very beginning. If everybody is on the field, that side is unbelievable.
And so they looked particularly good before the red card. The goal was all messy on the first goal. He drove down. It's just amazing, Dave, that when you watch the replays, like he just and people will say, "Oh, the MLS sucks." No, he did this in La Liga. It's like he lulls people into this weird thing where he passes it and then he sprints and he's wide open in the box. You're like, how do you let the best player in the world wide open? And it happened over and over again in that game. And he just, breaks into the space.
Well, because he's playing against dumb defenders who, these guys have been taught from moment one, right? Get back, play intense, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And he just lulls them to sleep because he's just super patient. Yeah. Not only is he super quick and amazing, but he's super patient. So Messi will often make the run very, very late when it's perfectly timed. Yeah. And by that point, the defenders are like, well, I guess he's not going forward. And then, there he is, goal. So, come on. If you are out there as a young player, right, one thing you need to learn as an attacking player, right, is there are two decisions. You either are the early player who we want to play too early, right, and you're going to be the creator. If you do that, then don't be the guy who just takes it and tries to go yourself. Bring your teammates into the game by laying the ball off or whatever. And if you're not that guy, don't just go running. Be patient. Wait till somebody has their head up when the moment is right, and then go. And Messi has made a career of it. I mean, he's absolutely brilliant.
So, anyway, they go up 1-0 and then concede 2 goals, and I think they're down 2-1 after the red card.
Correct.
A younger player just fouls somebody,
rush of blood to the head,
attacking right in the box. So they get a penalty kick. They score that, so it's 1-1. Forget how they scored the second one. But anyway, at the end of the game, it was like the 85th minute, 7th minute. Mm-hmm. Of course, it goes through Messi. He has a rush of blood and just charges against the back line. A younger kid in front, runs. He lays it off with the perfect timing. And
perfect weight on the pass.
Perfect weight. And whoever it was, it had a phenomenal finish. There was a lot of work to be done.
But it was just threw in on goal. He did a beautiful job finishing.
Threw in goal, and it's just amazing how Messi has that timing down of a pass, running at a back line that 1 second later it's offside, Dave.
Sure.
And most players...
You may have noticed I did watch the highlights.
I guess you did.
I didn't watch the game live, but... Yeah.
Did you watch any of the Columbus highlights? I actually missed that.
I did not watch the Columbus highlights. I mean, so much for Chicago. Obviously one game, but the Berhalter era and blah, blah, blah. They go to Columbus. Columbus has nobody. I mean, Columbus right now is a shadow team. And Columbus hammered them 4-2.
Do you know another shadow team I think that's out there?
Uh-oh.
LA Galaxy.
For the beginning of the year, absolutely. They lost so many players, as we talked about it. Their whole team.
Yeah,
is gone. I mean, not only did Ricky Puig, tear his ACL, so he's out now. They'll maybe get him back, but he's basically gone for the whole year. Mm-hmm. That you can't control, right? But they actually sold Jovic, right, the Serbian guy, right? They sold him to Kansas City. Why?
Yeah.
Why? I mean, they say, okay, maybe they're trying to turn over, and but he's only 25 years old. They added Christian Ramirez, and he's good, but so all they had was Gabriel Peck, and Paintsill was not there in the opening game.
Dave, they did.
I don't know what they're relying on.
They did not,
and they lost at home to San Diego in their first ever game.
They looked.
You know how many games LA Galaxy lost at home last year?
Don't know.
0.
Wow.
Not a single game.
I tell you what, a recipe for a loss is when you're so desperate that in the 63rd minute, your only hope to score a goal is putting in Miguel Berry. When you're down, when you were down 1-0 against the team that just started in the MLS, San Diego, and you put in Miguel Berry. And Dave, all I did is I just watched every single step that guy took during the game. And it was identical to the way he played in Atlanta United. Has done nothing to progress. You can hit the button. I mean, it doesn't even
say, should we or should we not take the tactical advice of LA Galaxy's galactically stupid general manager?
Somebody should put a straitjacket on this guy.
I mean, seriously. Not only did he buy Miguel Berry, then he sold these other guys, right? What are you doing? And knowing that Ricky Puig was out for the whole year, basically.
Yeah.
What are you doing? If I were LA Galaxy fan, I'd be tearing my hair
LA
out.
Galaxy fan. I posted on our Twitter account, Dave. Miguel Berry's now had over 3,500 minutes. Has had 5 goals and 4 assists over that period of over 4 seasons, and just over 4 seasons now. And like that's damning enough, right? Like that's just not good, right? That's a lot of minutes.
And as you point out, he's never even offside.
He's never offside, and during those over 4 years, he's only had 2 yellow cards. And the worst part about it, Dave, is watching him. Watching him is the worst part.
Oh my God!
Zero
like
movement.
Paint dry.
It's like watching paint dry. He has no ideas on how to do anything. And then even in this game, Dave, he had a moment where it was a difficult finish. Don't get me wrong, but it was the hero moment.
Yeah.
Cross to Miguel Berry.
Yeah.
1 yard from goal.
Yeah.
And all he can do is kick it right at the goalkeeper instead of doing any sort of light touch, flick on anything to make it go in the back of the goddamn net.
He's heating up.
How is this guy starting in the MLS or playing? Not starting any minutes.
I wake up every morning thinking the same thing, Mikey Dobbs.
No, I mean, at this point, I'm actually like, I'm not being a smartass, and I'm not trying to hate on Miguel Berry, but some other kid deserves a chance to play professional soccer, and it's not Miguel Berry.
Any other kid.
Yeah.
Like
any other
There's
kid.
a bunch of kids playing in Southern California who could take his place.
Correct.
I mean, come on.
It's bad. You watch Latte Lath like, oh, okay, well, there's an idea.
Although maybe they could grab, so Olivier Giroud was on the bench for LAFC, didn't even start. I don't know whether he has a small knock or whatever, but maybe they grab him. He'd be better.
Yeah, maybe.
LAFC has so many strikers that you don't know what to do with them all, right? Buanga and Giroud and Vela, and, they got everybody.
Is Vela still there? No, he's gone, right?
I don't know.
But I did think that, what's his name? The Mexican star for San Diego looked really sharp. Cucho, or no, that, why am I blanking? Help me. Mexican captain.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. It went right on my head as soon as you said that.
Oh, my gosh.
Anyway.
He looked very good for San Diego, though.
Yeah, he's terrific. He's resurrecting
And
his
they've got
career.
a Danish striker, Dyer, that I think had the 2 goals. He had the first goal ever for San Diego, and then he closed it with a banger, probably going to be goal of the week. It's already beating Mosquera's goal in the polls. So all the San Diego voters are out there getting their vote on for that
Chucky
goal.
Lozano we're talking about.
Chucky Lozano. Yeah, Chucky looked quite good.
Yeah, really good.
Especially since, not fully fit, first game, looking good.
Yeah.
I think San Diego is going to fight for a playoff spot for sure.
Yep, that's fair. That's fair. The bottom half of the West is just awful.
Yeah. The reason I say is this Dyer guy, the Danish guy, can actually finish. And he's a pretty...
He looked terrific in the first game. And nobody saw him coming, I don't think. But he looked amazing.
You got to watch out for the Great Danes, man. I'm telling you.
And I have to say, our old friend Bruce Arena.
Oh, I know, right?
So they did start with Christian
They
Arango.
had 4 goals too, didn't they?
And Joseph Martinez up top. Both of them started up top together, which I think is awesome. Not afraid. Neither of them scored, but they scored 4 goals. I mean, what a way, That's a bottom last place San Jose. Does anybody think they're going to be bottom? No.
So, Dave, I'm not going to put you on the hook for this podcast, but a future podcast, like you did your homework for MLS predictions going into the season.
Yep.
At some point, when appropriate, I'd love to get your take on whatever top 10 coaches breakdown in the MLS. Coaches worth talking about, like what are their pros and cons as coaches? Like maybe some coaches that you really respect, and maybe pull out some wooden spoon coaches that are just terrible, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, the coaching overall in MLS has gotten a lot better.
Right.
There are some good coaches.
I feel like the bar of that is really important for MLS to get better as a league. So how much better is MLS coaching in 2025, do you think, than it was in 2015? 10 years later.
Way better. Because, so you used to see just players being handed the keys because they were famous Americans, like Josh Wolf, Chris Armas, all these players just, handed the keys, to being a head coach in the MLS, and you're like, nobody's going to give you Man United or Liverpool or any of the top Premier League. Now, I'm not comparing the leagues, but say that without
on a
showing
bar 10 or 15 notches down,
how do you get a head coaching job in the MLS with zero head coaching experience? Zero.
Yeah, especially the new Golden Global franchise hires Pineda with not 1 minute.
Now, he was an assistant coach.
Not 1 minute of head coaching experience, Dave.
But, I mean, some of them they hired as a coach with even less, just famous. Yeah. Even the famous Europeans, Thierry Henry.
Neville, right? I don't think he ever had any experience.
It was Phil Neville.
Phil Neville, yeah.
And he did have he coached the women's English national team, but he had no club experience, which is a big thing. I mean, you see it even now. Javier Mascherano.
Yeah.
He's coached one team. It's an international and Olympic Argentinian under-23 team, which is a totally different ballgame, people, than coaching a club team, right? Because that team is getting together for a tournament. It's very intense, whatever. He's picking players and then putting them on the field. It's not day in and day out at all.
Now, you texted me you had read a bunch of articles about Lagerwey and him talking about culture in the club and clearly how things have evolved there. What were some of your takeaways that you were reading about there?
Well, he just keeps saying Lagerwey over and over and over that the culture had to change.
Yep.
And I'm really curious. I mean, it seems like he's definitely referring to Gigi for sure. Like he had a bad attitude, but I don't know whether he's also including Almada. Don't know. I don't know whether he's also including Wiley, who they shipped out. I don't know. But he clearly felt that they needed, I don't know whether it was all, so those guys, some might have been like horrible, like locker room problems, but he might have been just like they weren't actually really hard workers.
I don't think it's any of that. I don't think it's any of that. I think you lose.
You think that was just BS?
Yeah, it's BS. Because when you lose, you have a bad attitude no matter what, and that's because you got a bad coach.
I agree with that. I mean, it's hard to have anybody.
It's hard to be.
And Joseph Martinez is a perfect example of this, right? Because Joseph Martinez was never a problem under Tata, and then suddenly the coaching was worse, and he was Aros
when you have a guy that you can't follow, you're going to be a problem.
Now, I would have said Joseph Martinez is a perfect example, right? Because do I think Joseph Martinez is the best attitude kind of guy who's going to work no matter what? No. There are guys like that, right, who are going to run through a brick wall, whether we're 1 win in the season or whether or not we're undefeated. They're just going to do it, right? They don't care. They're just going to play. But there are other guys who are willing to work hard, but not when they just lose they think the coach is an ass and is an idiot. And I think there got to be at a point where a lot of them were like, because Pineda had horrible tactics, and then he was nice until the team was losing all the time. Then he would scream at people and lose his mind. That's the worst, right? If you're a coach out there, right? If you're a coach out there, okay? If you're a nice coach, you got to stay nice. Like, you got to be who you are, right? When you start losing or whatever, you can't start screaming and you get them all tense or whatever. It will never work. Same thing if you're the kind of guy who's screaming at them all the time. You can't just suddenly walk in one day and be nice. Like, you have to be true to who you are. The players can sense it, right? They know that. And if it's not going well, you suddenly getting all intense and everybody's got to play harder and it's, your problem. People are going to, rebel against you.
So, you know what I like about Dyla so far? And look, as we've said on this podcast, we are not in the media. We don't have that kind of behind the scenes look, but I can tell a lot having played the type of coach that Dyla is and what he's saying, the words that he's saying, I'm following. I'm like, I understand what this guy's saying. He's speaking to me, and I can tell he has the respect of that team. I can guarantee you.
Certainly from the beginning, he does. Absolutely.
Yeah, certainly from the beginning. Now, whether that changes based on results, that's always to be determined. But I also think, Dave, that he is the type of coach that, he's gonna relax like at the dinners and all that. But like, I can tell he's gonna tell it like it is to you if you're not doing your job.
Well, they also said that preseason it was, and I'm not, maybe I'm being a little over harsh, but those people don't know in a professional club when a really good coach comes in, he's going to run them to death.
I didn't sense a lot of that from the fan base. I think people understood that.
I heard some of it.
Did you?
Yeah.
I don't know what to believe on social media these days.
Some even prominent voices of people who are supposed to know better.
Okay. Well, I think it's clear after game one that fitness took a toll in the second half, Dave, and we saw some tired legs.
Right, I guess a little bit. One thing I was going to ask you about in regard to that, what do you think about the subs? You want me to tell who they were and when they were?
It was Fortune. It was Mosquera came on. Fortune, Mosquera, and who came on for Edwards?
Okay, let me just tell you the minutes and the exact sub, just so you know. 82nd minute was our first sub. Williams came on for Gregerson. That was clearly like a
injury,
planned,
that was a planned
a
one,
minutes restriction kind of thing. Although, God bless, awesome. At least he started him. Pineda would have brought him off the bench. Fortune came in for Click and Mosquera for Saba. So that was 82nd minute, though, right? That's for a first sub is fairly late. I think some people were probably looking for sub 60, 65, maybe 70 at the latest. In the 89th minute, Cobb for Latte Lath, and then there was one more sub, which we'll get to in a minute. But what do you think about the subs and the timing of the subs? So if it is true, as Ronnie Dilo was saying, that or what you were just saying, that we kind of look like we lost our legs, did he wait too long considering all the firepower we have on the bench?
I think we waited a little bit too long, 75th minute would have been the latest I would have gone. Maybe the 72nd if you wanted to push. Because normally you'll see the 62nd. So if you wanted to push them, I would say do the 72nd minute.
I mean, keep in mind, we have Tiare, Mosquera, Silva, right? These guys can change a game off the bench attacking-wise, right?
So do you think he was doing that to stretch some legs a little bit? Even again, is using the first game as a way to get 90 minutes into a Miguel Almiron and almost Latte Lath going 90 minutes? I mean,
I don't think so. I think he thinks that those are better players and he doesn't quite have confidence in the bench yet.
Okay, I think you're right.
And so he was hoping to win the game with those players, thinking that they're still better.
Yeah.
It's just
turned out to be right with the.
But then he brought on the sub and it worked.
With Miranchuk turning the ball, laying up to Latte, back to Miggy, and then Mosquera.
Mosquera with his first touches of the game, he scores.
So it did work.
But, you would say, okay, could Mosquera have done that, 15 minutes earlier? Could Silva have done that? I mean,
Silva's
nowhere to speak of.
He can dribble some people.
Yes, he can. But so far, we have not seen much of Silva at all.
No. You think there's something there?
I certainly don't think he's in the Ronnie Dyla fan club. I don't know. Not so good so far.
So,
but then I'm going to say the last thing we should talk about sub-wise. So in the 98th minute or whatever, 99th, because there's 10 minutes of extra time. So I'm going to say two things. First, I'm going to say this. So in the 99th minute, Almiron comes off, and he was bringing on Tiare, and Almiron takes too long to get off the field because there's all the applause, and the new MLS time-wasting rule kicks in, and he has to wait 2 minutes before coming on, and Tiare never gets in the game. We played the last 2 minutes a man down.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that?
I know Dilo has asked that question. So explain to me what happened again.
So Tiare was substituting for
Miggy
Almiron, and Almiron, did a little bit of the applaud thing when it was coming off. And you have a timer the moment, I don't know what they started when the board goes up or whatever, the timer to get off the field. And he didn't take super long. Yeah. He must have been a couple of seconds over the amount of time you have to get off the field.
It's funny that you mentioned this. I had a thought today about this, which is, every team, every game has one little name that they can hand to the head referee and say, look, this is or it may not even be every game, but it could be like your Monopoly card that you use, be like, hey, if this guy gets a little bit of innovation, give him a little bit of, he's got a little bit of lax, right? That we're not time wasting, but we're going to give this guy his due, whether it's a guy X, you know what I mean? Either, a guy who's leaving the MLS or whatever, you shouldn't punish being the man down for 2 minutes, even if it's whatever. Just don't do it.
I don't think you can.
So just do like one. Each team gets a little name. They get to hand to the ref because you kind of know that that's going to happen in a stadium beforehand. That you're going to get an applause. There's going to be a little bit of a delay because of the moment, and those aren't hard to predict. You know that's going to happen before the game. So why can't I write that on a piece of paper and that's my one mulligan for the referee and use what I call common sense, Dave?
Well,
which is not like a stalling tactic. It's just
what I would have said is I don't think you can do that. I think there's a lot of reasons why that wouldn't work. But
why wouldn't that work?
Well, hold on.
Common sense can't work?
What I'm saying is that the referee should have common sense, and there shouldn't just be a clock. So a referee should be able to tell the fourth official should be able to tell the difference, and MLS should have some confidence in their referees enough to be able to say that guy's taking a couple of applause from the crowd as opposed to time wasting.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where that referee should have looked out and said, I'm going to give him the extra 5 seconds.
But hold on. That's why MLS is so rule booky, dude.
Yes.
It's so
That's
rule
the problem.
booky.
It's not the exception.
It's so MLS-y.
Yeah.
Unless you have the rule that I'm talking about, which is the little mulligan card that you have to write for MLS refs, you can't have common sense.
You can't rule your way out of it, though. You just got to get some referees that actually know what the F they're doing.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Is MLS refereeing getting any better? The coaches are getting better over the 10 years.
It's gotten way better from the beginning to the middle, but I actually think that it's stalled and hasn't gotten to the. Yeah. It's not that in the beginning we had horrible. How
are you
decisions.
defining the beginning? 96?
Like the first 10 years almost. Yeah. Awful. We had some of the worst refereeing. We counted on someone to give a stupid penalty kick or a stupid whatever, send someone off for no reason.
I didn't watch back then.
I mean, it was awful.
Yeah.
When we started, they were just coming out of that era. There was still a little bit of it. It wasn't nearly as pronounced when Atlanta United started. It was way better. But
another thing I want to talk about quickly before we talk about it all, Dave, is MLS Pass on Apple TV. Mm-hmm. It's not working.
Before you say that, just 1 second, I want to say one more thing about the 90 minutes.
Okay.
In the stadium for the very first time ever, Mikey Dowes, the clock continued past 90. We hit 90. They put 10 minutes on the board, and on the stadium clock,
Saturday,
you could see 91, 92, 93, 94, because I have my stupid watch ready for the extra time to time it, because people are like, are we at 10 minutes? Are we at 8 minutes? What's going on? And they fixed it.
He's heating up.
There it is. Now we can talk Apple TV MLS Pass.
So
total failure.
I'll just assume that you completely agree with me.
I totally agree with you.
Stupid.
Maybe we'll be on a European schedule soon too, Dave.
Oh, God bless.
Clock runs all the way up.
It's like real football.
Apple TV and MLS Pass are
okay. Now we move on.
Don Garber throwing MLS under the bus because he's also putting his foot in his mouth. I mean, it's weird.
I feel like Don Garber was amazing for the league to where we are now. He was the very first commissioner, right? And he really did a beautiful job weathering the storm for the early years and keeping us where we didn't spend too much money and go default or whatever. Those days are gone. MLS is not going out of business, right? They're filling stadiums. The crowds are awesome. And I think MLS, they'll never get rid of him because he is that grandfather of the league, but it's time for a new commissioner.
Yeah. Do you think we're going to get one before the World Cup?
No.
Yeah. Now, Don Garber was asked about how many subscribers there are to MLS Pass, and he said, I don't have the information, and Apple has it. If you want those numbers, talk to them.
Great.
Then he furthered looking a little stupid, Dave, by saying, I think there's a problem because they made a 10-year, $2.5 billion deal with Apple TV on a singular streaming platform, exclusivity of MLS streaming sports. And he's saying, well, I think there's going to be a reconsolidation of platforms that end up streaming sports. Which I don't think he's wrong. He's 100% correct. Like we're all sick of signing into Peacock, signing into Paramount, signing into Apple to be able to watch our favorite sports. I mean, We kind
One thing I will say,
I want my old cable bill back. Is what I'm saying.
I know. One thing that I will say is that they did make a change this year on Apple TV, which is so in the previous years you had to subscribe to MLS in order to on Apple TV, and now if you subscribe to Apple TV overall,
you get it.
You get MLS.
Yeah, well, that's because nobody was subscribing.
Why would you?
Yeah, why would?
So you actually have an advantage if you're a little bit more of a casual
that is smart.
fan,
yeah.
MLS fan. You're like, and maybe you're like, nah, I wasn't going to buy it. But now you get Apple TV, and you could watch your team. You're like, maybe that's worth it.
But I don't get it. Like I try to watch. I am like pulling my teeth to like watch the Sunday night LA Galaxy San Diego game. Like I'm just like, all right, you know what? I've got a podcast. I'm gonna watch this game. That's how on the fringe I am, Dave. Right? And they make it hard for me.
Yep.
They make it hard for me.
Yes, they do.
I turn on the goddamn game on Apple MLS Pass. Do you know what's there? Is that hold music with the doo-doo. It's like the dramatic.
How can they have
fun
effing whole music?
What are they
Give
doing,
us
man?
The pregame show. Just play it.
Play
even
it
if it's
on
old
rotate.
or whatever. Yeah, like come on.
Player profiles.
Yeah.
Give me something on rotation.
I don't want to freaking watch it.
They've got all that
screen.
content in there, like player profiles for LAX, like the last goals
Yes.
for. I mean, just keep it going, man.
Yes.
What are they doing?
I don't know what they're doing.
It's just not hard to figure out. I mean, a developer, all they got to do is just put in a couple Python scripts to have it just rotate through the content that's already there. Not to mention the fact that they should be creating fresh content that should be exciting about each of those teams that's Apple TV worthy, that actually hypes up the goddamn league that we want to be watching. What are they doing? Apple TV deserves all the failure they're getting. But
apologies to Carmen. I've gotten a little carried away with the buttons.
I don't. This is at the end, but
that's why we have to have Carmen.
But it pisses me off because again, this is like common sense stuff. Like even like your average fan, like man, I don't understand why it's so hard to switch from one game to the other and MLS Pass. Like
I got three things to say.
Should
Mikey
just
Dawes.
be like a little peep window and you just tick tick tick.
I got three things to say. I agree, and I agree.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, after three fires, we talked about it all.
Should we play off the Al Marone Welcome Back song?
No, what we should do, one last, we've outplayed it.
Oh,
that.
Sorry, people.
But
have you listened to it though?
What's our next match? Next Saturday.
Next Saturday, we go on the road to Charlotte. In the rivalry match, Zaha did not play in the opening game.
Charlotte tie?
They tied at Seattle. They got killed in that game.
Did they?
They tied 2-2. Credit to them, but they got killed in that game.
So we're on the road in Charlotte.
Yep.
And that's their season home opener. With
big crowd.
Lots of fans.
Big crowd.
Can we go in there and disappoint them? I think we can.
Yeah.
I think it's going to
Charlotte.
I think it's going to be 2-1 Atlanta United. What's your prediction? Latte Lath is getting one of those. Maybe two.
So they're supposed to be amazing defensively, but they're not going to be able to contain us. I don't think almost anybody's going to keep us from scoring two. So let's just say they're amazing defensively. Maybe they're lucky and they only give up one to us, but I think they give up two to us because they're home. Right, and they have a little better. Depends on whether Zaha plays. If he's back, he's kind of day-to-day. If he plays, they certainly can score one or two. I would say...
You're going 2-2, aren't you?
I might go... They get a miracle 2-2 tie of us, which wouldn't be the end of the world for us.
So I'm going 2-1, you're going 2-2.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we don't have any formula because Pineda's gone. So now we can't just say, like, a robot could have predicted what we would do.
Right. I like the... part of this of being the optimistic one. Sorry, did I force you into the 2-2 or would you have gone with 2-1?
I would have gone to 2-2. I was going there. I can't be forced, Mikey Dawes. I got my own free will.
Sure
you do. But I have to say I was the optimistic one, taking us at second.
Yeah,
you have us at third.
But neither one's bad, Dave.
No, neither one is overly pessimistic either.
No, neither is pessimistic.
Okay, so if not...
Done are the days of pessimism on ATL on Fire, people.
Gone.
So
until the overly complicated defensive pressure tactics start giving us 8 goals. We concede 8 goals in a game. Then we might get back to it. But anyway, well, how do we play them off?
How do we
play the podcast off with no Almiron song? You want it?
Oh, well, let's do a little Danny Rojas. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Just like back in Guadalajara.
Saturday up in Charlotte. Let's get the win.
Danny Rojas, Danny Rojas.
Thanks for listening,
Carmen.
Back.
Come back.
No more excuses next time. Thanks, everybody.